So this wasn't our first foray into group play, but it was relatively new in our group play experience. And at the time,
was the largest.
It certainly was the largest at the time. And I think we reference in there that, and again, back to the erection thing, I had difficulty at first, but then kind of once I got going, I really enjoyed it. And I think the same for you. It can be very overwhelming when there's so much frenetic activity going on. And, we saw this past weekend at Splash, 3 weekends ago at Naughty in New Orleans, when there's so much going on, there's so much sensory input, and there's so much really hot sensory input, you can just get really distracted and get, into your head rather than into your body. And back in those days, we really didn't know any differently because we hadn't had a whole lot of experience with it. But I think we both had the experience at that party of once we kind of settled in and kind of found our groove, we realized this is really hot, and then we kind of got into our bodies and really started to have fun with it. And rather than be freaked out by it, we were having fun with it. And now, with years of perspective, it's just incredibly fun. It still can be overwhelming and distracting, but overarching, it's just incredibly fun.
I think, to your point, clearly, when I was talking about it in the raw audio, and we'll talk a little bit more about it now, even conflicted about enjoying myself, conflicted about just being there to be the person that's there to get, because that really kind of wasn't what I was. I was hoping to have a couple connections. I didn't expect it to be the way that it was. And I think that it's very different to have that type of experience versus smaller group stuff. And it was challenging. It was really challenging. But what I was going to say was, when you talk about getting into your body, obviously I was able to settle in and settle down. And I think meeting the buddy that I met who I'd been chatting with in the kitchen, who I was connected to and excited by, I think that changed the whole thing for me. If we had gone upstairs and we hadn't seen anybody, I don't know that I would have had the courage to walk into the room, take off my clothes, and throw myself down on the bed, where I just knew that strangers were that's the signal that it's okay. I mean, I was doing it on purpose to strangers to come in and have sex with me. So that was the tough part for me, because it's just not my style. Right. I'm not an anonymous sex person. We on our very first, after our very first horrible play date gone badly, we said, we both said, we talked about maybe we can't do this because we're too feely. Right. We're going to have emotions. And so we decided to move forward anyways, obviously, but that's why I'm so conflicted by this. And I still am. I still really am. Like, right now in my life, that is not a party that sounds interesting to me for the past little bit. Although I'm feeling like it's shifting for me again. This is why the podcast is firing back up a little bit. Things are shifting and I'm feeling a little bit better and more sexy and things like that. But still, we've only been, how many of these types of parties have you and I been to? To
get us together, I think 3.
Yeah, I was saying maybe 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, all with the same host and hostess.
And then we also went to some house parties that were big, that were maybe not necessarily not labeled like this, but that were very much that style. Yeah. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah, 3. So probably 6 or 7 total that you and I have been together.
That had, for lack of a better term, although we've had a discussion about this, a kind of a atmosphere or an orgy atmosphere. We've talked about, we always talk about like what's the difference between a gang and an orgy, and we'll leave that for another. We'll leave that for another episode. But but that's what, in my mind, that's what it felt like, and that's the best way for me to equate it to something now. So I do struggle with that. Although we were talking to somebody about one of our events that's coming up, and they were talking about like, well, do you think all the guys would like to get together and be with this one particular lady? And I was like, oh, gosh, they would. And then I was like, oh, that does kind of sound like fun. And like, I wonder if we could pull something like that off. And I wonder if I would enjoy that if it were this group of folks that we know each other, it's intimate. And like, so I'm looking, like, to me, that sounds like that would be something that would be more interesting. Like, we're going to be at a place with a bunch of people that we've spent a bunch of time with. And would that be different? So marinating on that one for our upcoming events.
Okay. To be continued then.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying. Because it's definitely not me, but gosh, listening to how much, and it was so fun. It really was. It was hot. It was really hot. And you talked about the fact that I was so engorged. I remember, I mean, I don't even know that I can physically make that much female ejaculate now.
You can.
Probably. But it was a lot. It was a lot. And but it was amazing. It was really, really hot. It was one of those times where it ended up being like, and I was okay with it. So it wasn't odd, but it was where you were either and you were one of the four almost at all times, or just watching. Which you love.
I love, absolutely love.
And so, yeah, but if you weren't one of the four, then I probably wasn't doing that whole thing.
Yeah, actually, there were some times where
I
was just, that was going on.
Lucky you.
God.
Lucky. See, I don't.
And lucky you.
Yeah, it was lucky me. I really did. And so that, because it was very natural, it was very organic. I think that's the other thing. Like if we had said, okay, we're going to go in and you're going to lay down on this bed and all these guys are going to come up with you and you're going to sex and stuff, I would have been like, no, it doesn't sound like me. That's not my jam.
Well, that's also not our dynamic. I don't direct.
True.
I'm an observer and a participant. I certainly, exactly. Yeah, that's our dynamic.
What I'm doing. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So,
which is not universal, and certainly not at these parties. That's not universal. There are others who direct exactly what.
Well, as a matter of fact, we talk about it. The reason we stopped because that couple came in, and I even mentioned something about that too, about how I wanted her to stand up for herself. Very new, obviously, in this, and now looking back, even though I even called it out then, called her his submissive. Clearly, they were having a scene. They were doing something. Now that I can think about it later, that was what they had.
With some perspective.
The dynamic that they had said that this was going to happen. And so I didn't know how those things worked as much back then. And so so that was odd for me. And that threw me off, that energy, because he did come in and say here, and he orchestrated, and they had that agreement that this was what was going to happen and she was going to be with whoever, or whatever they decided. And so, but because it changed it from everybody just kind of being able to kind of flow into where the activity was or whatever, because he began orchestrating, and then it became like, then they were all getting in line and he's directing and things like that. And so
not my jam. Even to this day, I don't find that appealing either.
I don't find it appealing to watch it.
We don't judge, but it's not our jam.
No, not at all. I think we were a little judgy then.
Well, back then,
we didn't know any better. And listen to me saying I wanted her to stick up for herself, but I'm sorry, I didn't really know that's probably not what she wanted. She probably wanted what she was getting, and she was good. She probably ended up being a very happy girl, but I just didn't know what that was like. But so yay for them. But yeah, it's still not necessarily my thing. So. We'll see. I don't know. We've had some other opportunities and we've had some other parties and they have been fun. And then we've had some that weren't as great and I didn't feel as fun. So you just never know.
Yeah. I tend to have fun wherever, whenever. So.
Yep. So anyways, that was that story. Our very first ginormous house party that was slightly greedy girly.
Yeah, I to this day, I mean, that was one of my favorite experiences that we've had. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and we have not quite replicated that yet.
No.
Yeah, and we may never.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know that we ever will because of the
newness.
Right.
Well, the newness and the organic nature of it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we may never. We cannot recreate our feelings that we had at that time.
Right.
Especially the sharp 180 from we're getting out of here to this is awesome.
Yeah. So the moral of this story is, if you listen to any of our earlier episodes, it will go upstairs. But as that,
just try.
Myrina can't be trusted.
And Myrina can't be trusted.
Also, the other thing too that you said somewhere in there about something, and I said, "Oh, was it about orgasming?" And you said your body lies. Then I said, what did I say?
Your body is saying yes, and your brain saying, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was
something to that effect.
Yes.